Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic:
what companies have extremely high quality standards for products that people might not realize? Some people may know, but Lego has extremely tight manufacturing tolerances, aiming for around a precision of plus or minus 0.01 mm in dimensions to ensure consistent and reliable interlocking of pieces across different sets. That's why pieces made years or decades apart snap together like they were all made yesterday. There really isn't a competitor that comes close. Not only that, but they were pioneers when it came to the utilization of injection molding. I wrote a paper on it for my mechanical engineering class. Their standards are absolutely incredible. I had to take an injection molding seminar when I worked in the automotive industry, and the quality control of Lego was brought up several times for being a stellar example of proper injection molding. King Arthur flour. They've rejected multiple train cars full of unprocessed wheat, because the protein content was off by a few hundredths of a percent, contravening the requirements set forth in their commodities contract. It put them behind in production, and pissed off their suppliers. Most other flour producers would have accepted it with a variance sign-off, and moved on. My mill worked as HR manager at their HQ in Vermont for several years. She really liked it there, and I got the impression it was a company that genuinely appreciated their product and employees. Also, they were constantly trying recipes out in the kitchen at HQ. Employees were encouraged to try out the stuff, and the rule was that you had to leave notes about anything you tried. You bite, you write. Quote, I have their Baker's Companion. It's something like 700 pages of recipes and detailed information on flours, sweeteners, yeasts, etc. They also have an outstanding website with tons of information, instructions and recipes. I'm a big fan. Same, King Arthur is fantastic. Got into sourdough a bit, with no other baking experience, and it was so neat that one of the most available bread flours happens to be a great product, very affordable, and with awesome online resources. I heard there are tours of their facility that are pretty neat. Not sure if they're free or you need to have some dough. They are also employee-owned. YKK zippers. The best, dang straight. Even when they had no competition for decades, they kept quality really, really high. And they meet OP's criteria. They never advertise and they are rarely mentioned. I really don't understand why companies even deviate from YKK. Almost every time it's not YKK there are issues. Cost. Yamaha musical instruments. The guitars often get overlooked, but I have never played a bad anything by Yamaha. Been playing guitar my whole life and always wrote off Yamaha as basic, nothing special since they make everything. Recently inherited a Yamaha acoustic though, and it has seriously surprised me. Holds its tune super well and has a beautiful tone. My $230 Yamaha acoustic sounds better than my $750 Breedlove. Ball the Jar Company. They make satellites. Ball just completed the sale of the aerospace division to Bay. Good, hopefully now they can focus on making quality jars again. Obvious Bic reference. Aeronautic tolerances under a cheap AF pen. Their lighters are also vastly superior to the competition and they only cost a few cents more. It's not even close. The difference is so apparent any non-Bic lighter is a crack lighter. In terms of temporary adhesives, anything 3M. Especially post-it notes and command strips. Somehow their materials science is so far above every other sticky note company that it's barely comparable, and I don't know if there's any alternative to 3M command strips. They do all kinds of stuff. The museum field is trying to get rid of all the formaldehyde that animals, etc. are preserved and displayed in because, you know, it causes cancer, makes the specimens lose color and rigidity, and it smells like the inside of the sarlacc. 3M spent years developing a new gel-like preservative that doesn't go yellow or gray with age and only has a mild odor that goes away. It's been a huge game changer. Source: worked at Smithsonian Natural History, museum professional, not educator, tour guide, admin, etc. I went to school to be able to touch the stuff. Quote closing parenthesis. 3M released a new type of sandpaper called Cubitron and it's an absolute game changer for woodworkers. I think they have permanent adhesives covered too. I managed to rip out a huge chunk of spackling trying to yank a baby monitor from the wall. It was held in place by one square of 3 meters double-sided tape. 3M double-sided foam tape with permanent adhesive is used for holding those huge sheets of glass that skin skyscrapers. You must be doing something right if your tape can be hurricane rated. It's a banner day on the job site when the buyer gets us 3M electrical tape. So much better than the others. 3M Super 33 Plus electrical tape will last forever in direct sunlight, rain, snow, sleet and still keep the cable connector you wrapped it with perfectly dry. I no longer need that type of reliability since I changed jobs, but I still buy it for myself around the house. 3M poisoned the water for the entire area where I went to middle school. This was like 15 years ago when folks found out. The drinking water still isn't potable. Thankfully we moved out of state and somewhere the only thing we worried about was oil drilling Quake's woozy face. We have a 3M plant in my city. It smells like straight up death just driving past it on the highway, and you can smell it for miles and miles, especially on a windy day. I can't imagine working there or living nearby. Most Kirkland products from Costco. If money weren't a factor, but I had to work, I wouldn't mind hanging around Costco, helping people pick shite out. They actually pay really well. There are tons of stories of teachers quitting teaching and working at Costco for more $. Rolls-Royce. I worked for a company who for 2 years tried to produce exhaust vanes for their jet engines. Every time an inspector came, we failed. I work at Rolls-Royce. There are so many things that have to work together that the tolerant stacking of components is truly fascinating. You'd be shocked at some of the concessions that get signed off, though. Tears of joy. Some of the concessions that get signed off, though, do tell. Not only their jet engines, their cars are some of most well-made, precision-designed cars ever built, incredible workmanship, faultless. Friend of mine told me a story about a rich uncle of his back in the day, had a RR vehicle of some kind, might have been a SUV or truck, was driving it in the middle of nowhere in Africa, and like the axle broke in half or something like that was a major issue and left him stranded in some podding town, village. Called up the RR company, they sent 2 mechanics and the tools and parts in by plane, like as in Bush Pilot. They got there, fixed the thing in a day, and when the uncle went to pay for him for the repairs they just told him, "Sir, this never happened, Rolls-Royces do not break down in this fashion. Have a good day," hopped back in the plane and left. Don't know if it's true, or if I got all the details right, but that's what I remember. Edit, looks like it's an urban legend. Most people probably realize this, but Toyota has insanely high quality control down to the individual parts. There's a reason they last forever. I was in a Toyota manufacturing facility recently where they were doing quality inspections on camshafts. They were using equipment that I didn't recognize. When I asked about it, I learned that they use some very specialized measuring devices because the tolerance for some parts of their camshafts is plus or minus 4 microns. An average human hair is around 100 microns. That blew me away. I read somewhere that anyone on the assembly line has the ability to momentarily stop production if they find a quality control issue. I've worked directly on assembly lines for both Ford and Toyota. At both places, employees have the ability to stop production, but at both places it is frowned upon. Gotta keep those numbers up. I will say that Toyota's assembly plant ran much more smoothly than Ford's in every aspect. Carter's clothing for babies and children. I still have onesies and pajamas that were thoroughly put through all the stains, strains, and antics of each one of my kids. Yet my 4-month-old can wear my 4-year-old's old clothes and there's not a tear at all. The colors are faded a bit and there's some paint, berry, and spaghetti in places, but overall they've held up well. Same can be said of New Balance. I've worn the same pair for about a decade and the worst thing about them is the grass stains. I have become a huge fan of Carter's. I wish they would make adult clothing based on how well the fabric holds up. Right, their jeans would last 20 years easily. My grandfather, born in 1900, told me a story. When he was 16 his mother told him to go to college, so he rode his horse to Boston. He was going to go to Boston College, but the guy he got a room with encouraged him to study for the entrance exam for MIT. He said, it was this guy, Carter, he ended up making kids' underwear. Quote, I thought you said Cartier and I was like damn okay. Fiskars. Scissors and branch loppers. I broke a set of loppers and I was pretty sure it was my fault because I was cutting a branch that was way too big and I twisted the loppers. I did this many times over the years. Finally it broke the blade. I sent him an email asking how much to get a new lopper blade and explained that it was my fault. They said, no worries, and sent me a new blade for free. And a whole new set of loppers for free. I only buy Fiskars for scissors and loppers now. Their scissors never lose sharpness somehow, regardless of how I misuse them. Haha, thanks Fiskars. I found a used pair of Fiskars in an apartment in 2004 and I still use them every day. I have never sharpened them, they aren't fancy, they just keep on going. Wonder how long they were around before I found them. Toyota. The Toyota Corolla is the best-selling car in the world. Their success is largely due to making small incremental and continuous improvements, and most importantly not making the customer a guinea pig for terrible engineering. I would agree that they are fairly boring, though. But if you want a car to take you from point A to point B, there is no better option. The Japanese make the best cars in the world when it comes to efficiency and reliability, no one else comes close. Toyota has been an innovator and leader in quality control. They've either created or refined several techniques: Kaizen, Six Sigma, continuous improvement, lean manufacturing, now used across multiple industries. One of my college professors had an absolute fetish for Toyota. It was a logistics-relevant course, so of course Toyota would be an example, brought up often, but we never left an hour lecture without 2 to 3 Toyota references. Toyota is the only vehicle he has bought since he graduated college, the only vehicle his wife and 3 children will own or drive, asks who owns a Toyota in the class, etc. The first 1/3 of the semester was basically Intro to Toyota History. I like all that stuff, so it was fine with me, but I literally could not tell you another company that was brought up in that class. Not that it matters, but he was some sort of Middle Easterner, but moved to the US around 10 or 12. Worked for a company that supplied software to Toyota. Unless it's changed, they have a blanket requirement, with some exceptions, that all points in their supply line and manufacturing maintain a quality standard of 0.999996. This means that if your company makes, say 15mm bolts, for Toyota, then you can only have 4 faulty bolts for every 10 million that you produce. They will also want to know who you buy steel from and want to see their factory and quality standards. We worked with all the big auto manufacturers, and Toyota and Nissan were the only ones who regularly sent people to actually come look at our office and what we did. We always had a funny relationship with Toyota because if you've ever worked on software, you know the idea of that level of quality standard is laughable for a delivered product. So we had to perpetually get exceptions to their system or they'd never have anything digital in the car. I think you mean ~4 non-conformances per million, which is rounded up from a 6 sigma level of process control, 3.6 ppm.